Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. We were on a short break for the month of Ramadan. And now we're going to be continuing reading from the book al-Ajwoba al-Jaliya al-Ahkam al-Hanbaliya, or the clear answer in Hanbali Rulings by Sheikh Musa bin Issa al-Qaddoomi rahimahullah. And we will be starting in this lesson, inshallah, lesson number 19 in the book of prayer. Let us begin. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma alamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Allahumma anfa'na bima allamtana wa 'allamna bima yanfa'una wa zidna ilman يا رب العالمين. قال المؤلف rahimahullah نفع الله به وبعلومه وعلوم مشايخنا في الدارين آمين. So the author starts with the chapter on the salah or the prayer, and this is the section regarding the Adhan and the Iqama. And as always, we are reading from the translation of a Sheikh Khalid Shah, and we are on page 57. So the author starts question number 44. What is the ruling of the Adhan and the Iqama? And I think the majority of the supplementary material that we're going to be referencing here is going to be from the book Nail al-Marib Sharh Dalil al-Talib by At-Taghlibi rahimahullah. So I think everything, as I said, supplementary material outside of the book will be referenced from there. So regarding the word al-adhan, linguistically it means informing, and according to the Sharia it has the technical definition of the informing of the entering of the time of prayer, or the coming closer to the time of the prayer in the case of al-Fajr, and that's only in the case of al-Fajr. Regarding al-Iqama, the original meaning means to stand up or to raise, and literally it means raising from sitting, and in the Sharia sense it is the alerting or the informing of establishing the prayer. So with regard to the question, what is the ruling of Adhan and Iqama? He replies, the ruling of Adhan and Iqama is that they are fard kifaya, and in parentheses, communal obligations on free men who are not traveling. So already from his answer we can also derive who they are not a fard kifaya or communal obligation for, so those who are not free men who are not traveling. The author goes on to say, it is sunnah for an individual and those traveling, meaning to do the adhan and the iqama. And then he goes on to say, it is makruh or disliked for women, even if it is without raising the voice. And it is mentioned in the book Al-Furu' that it's even kind of a leaning toward a prohibition for women. So it's better that women avoid it, and Allah knows best. So the author goes on, it would not be correct unless done A, in order, meaning the order of the wording, B, with the continuity as normally understood, and C, adhan or iqama to be done by one person completely with an intention from him. It would not be correct if some of the adhan or iqama is done by one person and then completed by another. So just quickly to clarify, we're not talking about one person doing an adhan and then a different person doing an Iqama, but we're talking about two people kind of sharing the duty of the Adhan or the Iqama. And just for the sake of clarity, because the book doesn't mention it here, but the Adhan and the Iqama are, as you've probably seen on television, if you've seen the coverage from Mecca or Al-Medina, it is in the same form that you would hear there. So the Adhan would have the wording of Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Ashhadu wa la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu wa la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulallah, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala al-falah, Hayya ala al-falah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. And then the Iqama would have the similar wording, but the words wouldn't, or the phrases wouldn't repeat, and there's an additional phrase in the middle. So the Iqama would be as follows: Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Ashhadu wa la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulallah, Hayya ala salati, Hayya ala falah, Qad iqamat as-salatu, Qad iqamat as-salah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. So I think these are the common forms that most people know, but in case you're coming from a different place where they follow different madhab, in particular the Maliki or the Hanafi madhabs, you may hear something different. So for example, the Malikis, they do have something that they call a tarjih, where the words of the Shahada are repeated, and then as far as the Iqama, also the Hanafis have a slightly different form, where they would still read all the phrases as in the Adhan, meaning they wouldn't reduce some of the phrases that are twice to one time. But as I said, I think that this format is kind of the most popular that people hear, and I mean, we know from either seeing on television or being there in Mecca and Al-Medina, I think we're familiar with those Adhans and Iqamas, and Allah knows best. The author goes on, question number 45, what are the prerequisites or the shurut of the mu'adhin? And the mu'adhin is the person who gives the adhan. And the author replies, the mu'adhin must have 6 prerequisites, and they are to be a Muslim. And the reason that he has to be Muslim is because it's not mentioned as kind of a separate prerequisite, but it is also a condition that he has that intention to give the adhan, and that would not be valid from a kafir or non-Muslim. Next, B, should be a male. C, of sound intellect. D, discerning. So C and D, we've repeated these many times previously. E, able to speak. F, upright, in parentheses, Islamically, even if it is external, or we can say, maybe better to say, apparently. So someone who is apparently a fasik or corrupt person, they should not give the adhan. In addition to what the author, rahimahullah, mentions here, it is also sunnah for that person to be truthful, because people would not accept the adhan, which is a testification of the time of the prayer from someone who's not truthful. And it is also sunnah that he be knowledgeable of the times of the prayer, because someone who is not knowledgeable and hence would be making mistakes would not be believed. And even some of the scholars, such as Abu al-Ma'ali, have made that or included that in the conditions. And it is also a sunnah that the person be mutatahhir, or in the state of purity from both major and minor impurities. And this is even more emphasized for the Iqama as opposed to the Adhan, due to its very close timing before the time of the prayer. And regarding the last point, it is not disliked for someone in the state of minor impurity to give the Adhan, but it is disliked for someone in the state of janaba to give the Adhan. Whereas it is disliked for the person in the state of minor impurity to give the Iqama. Once again, due to it being very close to the time of the prayer, meaning there isn't a time for such a person to make the wudu and be in the state of purity. And finally, it is also sunnah to make the adhan in the beginning of the time of the prayer. So the author continues, number 46, is the adhan or iqama acceptable before its time or not? And the author replies, neither is acceptable before its time except for the adhan of al-fajr. It can be done after midnight. So I had previously mentioned it is sunnah to make the adhan at the beginning of its time, and there is a good benefit here because for al-fajr there are two adhans, and we kind of highlighted this I think earlier, but the first adhan, it can be done as early as before midnight, and then up to any time slightly before the adhan of the actual entering the time of al-fajr. And usually this adhan is going to be closer to that time than midnight, depending on where you're located, just because this first adhan is intended to wake people up from sleeping so that they can go to pray and be ready for that second adhan. The author goes on, what are the arkan, or the compulsory pillars of the adhan? Its arkan are to raise one's voice, as long as it has not done for those who are present only. So if you're at your friend's house and it's just you and him, you need not raise the voice. Just reading it at a normal level will be sufficient. And it is sunnah for the mu'adhin to A. have a loud voice, B. be trustworthy, C. be knowledgeable of the prayer times, D. be pure, i.e. in the state of wudu. I think I've already mentioned these before. And E. be standing for both, meaning the adhan and the iqama. There are a few other sunnahs that are worth mentioning. So for the one giving the adhan, it is sunnah to be on a high place. So it could be in a manara, a minaret, or somewhere else. It is also sunnah that the mu'adhin raises his face up toward the sky. It is sunnah that he put his pointer fingers in his ear when he's making the adhan. It is sunnah that he face the qibla when he's making the adhan. And it is also sunnah that he turns his head and his chest slightly to the right when he says hayya ala salah, and then to the left when he reads Hayya ala al-falah. And then finally, it's also sunnah during the Adhan of al-Fajr that after saying Hayya ala al-falah, then the mu'adhin says As-salatu khayrun min al-nawm. As-salatu khayrun min al-nawm. And this is called the tathweeb. It is also a sunnah that the one who is delegated to make the adhan also be the same person to make the Iqama, unless there's some difficulty upon him, like he has to go to kind of a faraway place or high up a manara or minaret to make the adhan, and there's a difficulty for him to make both. But otherwise, it's a sunnah for the same person to do both. And regarding the Iqama, one should also get the permission of the Imam to make the Iqama, because it is the Imam who is leading the prayer, so it needs his permission to start. And that is mentioned in Al-Insaf, that is the madhab position, and it is one of the mufradat or long positions of the madhab, and Allah knows best. And finally, in the case that one is combining prayers, so he could be combining like two prayers, or if he's doing several makeup prayers together, he only needs one adhan, and then for each prayer to make its own Iqama. And in the case of combining the prayers, there's no difference in ruling whether one is doing the combining of advancing or delaying, which we'll talk about later if you don't know what that means. Another important point that the author doesn't mention is that after the adhan is made, it is generally haram to leave the masjid or that place of prayer, except for three cases. The first is that one is leaving with an intention to return. Second, if this were to be the first adhan of the Fajr. And finally, for anyone who's not obligated to be there. So for example, women or children in the masjid, they could leave after the adhan, but men who are there, particularly residents, they would have to stay to observe the communal prayer. And Allah knows best. The author goes on, question 48. What is the sunnah for the one who hears the mu'adhin or the muqim? The muqim is the one who gives the Iqama. And the author replies, it is sunnah for the mu'adhin and the one who hears him or hears the muqim to repeat the same, except when he says the Hayya ala, meaning the Hayya ala salah and Hayya ala al-falah, then the reply should be La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, meaning there is no might or strength except with Allah. So for adhan or iqama, you're just repeating exactly what the mu'adhin or the muqim says, except for in the case of the Hayya ala salah and Hayya ala al-falah. Then we say La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. The author continues, however, after the tathweeb, which is when the mu'adhin during the Fajr adhan says As-salatu khayrun min al-nawm, or prayer is better than sleep, one should reply with Sadaqta wa bararta, meaning you spoke the truth and you have done good. After the words of the Iqama, the reply should be Aqamahallahu وأدامها, meaning may Allah establish it and make it endure. After the Adhan, one should make salawat on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the following dua should be recited: Allahumma rabba hadhihi da'wat at-tamma was-salat al-qa'ima آتي محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته. Meaning, O Allah, Lord of this complete call and established prayer, give Muhammad the position and distinction and bestow upon him the praise station which you have promised. Then other du'as can be made, and also dua can be made at the Iqama. And one may ask, why are we asking for something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And the answer is just that we want to show this great grace of his, and also to magnify his station. Regarding the dua after the adhan, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ad-du'a la yurad bayna al-adhani wal-iqamati," or a dua or supplication is not rejected between the adhan and the iqama. And regarding making a dua after the iqama, it is narrated that Al-Imam Ahmed had done this, and in the case of making the dua, one would raise his hands as he normally would for any dua. And finally, the author says, number 49, is it haram to leave the masjid after the adhan or not? And he replies, once the adhan is called, it is haram to leave the masjid without an excuse or intention of returning. And I think that I had already mentioned this earlier. So now we have finished the section on the adhan and the iqama. Inshallah, next time we'll start talking about the ruling of the prayer and some of the other, maybe the arkan or the times of the prayer, inshallah. So as usual, please don't forget us and our scholars and all of our brothers and sisters who are in dire situations across the world. Please don't forget us in your dua, especially that dua bayna or between the adhan and the iqama. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu wa sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een.